Congressman, Iran. I mean, you're up there. Last time you were on, you said that colleagues of yours are walking around talking about how great it'd be to nuke Iran. Israel's saying they may go in even if the U.S. doesn't back it. We're getting mixed signals. Barack Obama said last week to the Senate Democrats, hey, if we don't get these sanctions, then there probably is going to be an attack on Iran. What is the best intel you've got? Are they planning to hit Iran and when?
Well, I don't know of any precise plans, but I know that the neoconservatives are still in charge in Washington, although every once in a while you'll hear Condoleezza Rice say something and say, oh, maybe she represents the moderates. But at the same time, she says something like, let's talk to them for a day. The next day she said, but remember, nothing is taken off the table. So the influence is still there that wants it to happen, but I don't, they probably themselves don't have a day set to do it. They're waiting for an opportunity, and something will come along. Now, whether it happens in the next month or two is still unknown. But the one thing that American people have to realize is just because on occasion they hear Obama say something that's less aggressive and he wants to maybe bring some troops out of Iraq, you have to remember he's the one that even beat John McCain in saying we need more troops in Afghanistan, and he has never backed away from even a nuclear first strike on Iran, because he won't take anything off the table either.
Congressman, we've only got a few minutes left with you. Specifically, you've warned several times on the House floor and on this radio show about provocations, Gulf of Tonkin-style events that almost happened a few months ago in the Strait of Hormuz with the Iranian boats and the fake radio transmission. Cy Hirsch reported 2 months ago that the White House, quote, wants a provocation. He got that from inside sources in White House meetings. You're aware of that. That's A. B, did you know that Keith Olbermann did report Friday that Cy Hirsch has now reported that the White House wanted provocations and Dick Cheney proposed creating fake Iranian patrol boats, putting Navy SEALs in them, and having a shootout between the larger missile cruisers and the Navy SEALs? Were you aware of that? And if you are, what's your take?
Well, I heard that story. I don't have proof of it, but I believe it's very, very possible. I mean, this is the kind of, didn't Cheney do something early on about using a UN symbol and hitting it and then blaming it on the Iranians? So
White House
they're
memo.
capable of doing anything.
Well, I tell you what, Congressman, I just skipped the break. If you can stay with us 3 more minutes, I will pull Keith Olbermann up. It's up on prisonplanet.com. See, the news moves so fast, it's already off the main page. No, sir, I'm telling you, Keith Olbermann reported on it. There is a YouTube video of Cy Hirsch at a media conference saying that there were a dozen provocations. He said, I'll only tell you about one. Dick Cheney proposed, but the military shot it down because they didn't want to kill our own troops. Dick Cheney, this is huge. We need your help to look into this and then cover it. Dick Cheney came right out and said this, sir.
I believe him.
Well, it's just unbelievable. What should we do about this?
Well, I don't know how much more we can do. I mean, we have to let the people know. First is get knowledge. Individuals like myself, and we only have a few in Washington that speak in Washington to try to slow that up. And, you know, in one minor way, I think we did a little bit of good on that H. Conrad's 362, I believe, where they were going to put on the absolute blockade of Iran. And we spoke out on that, and that has settled down. It may still come up, but because several of us spoke out against it, I think they've backed off because they had to admit it really was a blockade. They proposed that as if, oh no, this is just a few sanctions. This is not really a blockade. So, but we're outnumbered and we're outgunned, and that's why it's so dangerous.
Congressman, spend a few minutes telling us about the campaign for liberty, to tell us about what's coming up with this huge rally for the Republic.
Well, you know, the Republicans' convention starts, I think it's on September 1st and runs for several days. And we had what many consider a very successful campaign the last year and a half. And we wanted to conclude it on a very positive note. So it was very clear that we would not be allowed to participate in the Republican convention. So so we decided we would have our own. So we're about 8 miles from where the Republicans are holding their rally as a campaign for liberty. I see the other candidates as campaign for power, which is exactly opposite of what we do. We campaign for liberty, and we want it to be a very positive note. We're going to have a lot of music, and we're going to have a lot of speakers, and it's going to be talking about the Republic. It's a rally for the Republic, and anybody interested in it should go to campaignforliberty.com and join us and come there. We expect to have a lot of enthusiasm. We had one reporter call Jesse, our press guy, and said, look, if you guys fill that place, he says, you will be the news for the whole week. So there's a little bit of PR stuff involved here, too, and that is our goal. We're working, and the numbers look good, but, until it's over and successful, I do worry a little bit.
Well, you've already sold more than half the tickets, and you've got 3 weeks to sell the rest. This is going to be a huge success. It's guaranteed it's going to overflow. In fact, Jesse told me last week he's already looking for overflow areas for other people nearby. But Congressman, let me just play you a minute of this, get your comment on it, and we'll let you go. This is World's Worst President. This is Keith Olbermann. Now, understand, we have the Cyhurst clip where he lays it out and says we just didn't put it in the newspaper, in the magazine, but here it is. This is the audio from Friday's Keith Olbermann.
He told the Campus Progress Journalism Conference that in a meeting in the Vice President's office, members of the administration sat around brainstorming ideas to provoke a war with Iran. Quote, the one that interested me the most was, why don't we in our shipyard, build 4 or 5 boats that look like Iranian PT boats, put Navy SEALs on them with a lot of arms, and the next time one of our boats goes to the Straits of Hormuz, start a shoot-up. Might cost some lives, and it was rejected because you can't have Americans killing Americans. That's the level of stuff we're talking about. Provocation, but that was rejected. Can you see this happening in Cheney's office? Sure you can. Can you see Cheney getting all happy and worked up and almost smiling? Sure you can. Can you see when they get to the part about Americans being killed and you can't do that, and he just stares at them all and says, so? Vice President Dick Cheney, today's worst person in the world.
Congressman, to me, this is a huge deal because in the actual clip that I'll email your staff, this is at a major journalism conference in front of hundreds of people and journalists. He says there were 11 other staged events they planned. Then we have the White House memo where they wanted to fly the U.S. planes painted up like the UN logo to get them shot down. This is a big deal, and we need to make sure there's an investigation. We need to know those other 11 targets. Can you comment on this?
Well, the sad part is that a lot of people won't be surprised. I imagine you weren't totally surprised. I mean,
no, sir.
And that's the really sad part about it, but it is tragic. It's sad, and we have to do our very best. And this exposure is great. I think this is fine. Let the people know what's going on, and maybe they'll wake up when it happens. But I'm afraid to death. All it has to do is have one of our ships hit and a bunch of Americans killed, and 1 or 2 news stations up. It was the Iranians. The country's going to be ready to go to war. I mean, that'd be even willing to be called a draft to say, well, we have to go. We have to save Israel. We have to go and march in. So we need a draft, and that's the worst part that I fear. So I guess we have to keep doing what we can do to expose the truth.
Congressman, you don't toot your own horn, but in closing, it was almost 2 years ago. I know it was in early 2007. I know you gave speeches similar to this, but even before that, saying, I'm afraid they're going to stage a Gulf of Tonkin in the Strait of Hormuz. Did you get intel on that, or how on earth were you able to predict something like this? And then now they already tried it with the PT boats a few months ago, with fake radio transmissions. Now Gary Hart's writing letters to Iran saying they may stage a Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, how did you know that?
I didn't absolutely know that. It just sort of was the fact that they've done it before, and I know what the neocons want, and they did it for Vietnam, and they've done it over the centuries. The various wars. So often there seems to be an incident with the Navy and with the ship, so it must be easier to do it. So it was just strong suspicion in relationship to the kind of people that we have running our government.
Well, by exposing it, that takes this tool of staged events and breaks it so they can't use it. Again, huge guests coming up. Folks can go buy tickets right now. You've got several websites. Is the best one Rally for the Republic?
That or Campaign for Liberty.
And that's rallyfortherepublic.com?
Right.
And the Campaign for Liberty website, we have links to those up on Infowars.com. Also, Congressman, give us your House website. Give us some of your other websites.
Well, the best one to go to look at all my websites would be ronpaul.org, and that lists about 6 websites, the political websites and the PAC website and the different things, and the educational website. ronpaul.org for all the websites.
Okay, that's the big portal to all the world of Ron Paul and liberty. Thank you so much for your tireless efforts to defend freedom. I know you're going to be popping in for about 5 minutes later in the week to make that big announcement we were going to make today, but Jesse Ventura, many others at the event, get your tickets now. Congressman, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, that was a bombshell interview, ladies and gentlemen, and it's only going to get more powerful after this break. Prison Planet is now censored by the British government.